Alright, this is a brief video to try and show a little bit of, at least in a video format, what's kind of laid out here on the requesting access to STK license request and software installation instructions from the Stellar Explorers program. In this case, while they have a very good and interactive page here that has a lot of great images, sometimes my experience has been people like having a video to go along with that, so I figured I'd make one. You can click the link here to go over to ansys.com, and then that will actually get you set up so you can download one of the first license installers that we'll need. I've actually already downloaded it, so I'm going to go to minimize that, and then over here WinX64, which is the one that I've got. Let's see, ANSYS reg server. When you try and access it from the zip folder, it'll basically say, hey, we can't run it out of the zip folder. You can just click extract all. It'll put it usually in just a documents folder. You could always go back and delete it later. It doesn't take up much space. Mine's warning me that there's already files there because I've installed this before and I've actually done these steps before. But I wanted to show you again before I got everything set up. So I'm just going to replace those files. That's got the latest one. And now I can actually run this. ANSYS reg server. And then we've got the host name. You can fill in the information, but like they say, I'll go back over to the page. We're about partway down. It says you do not need to fill out any of the information. Just click create file, and that's enough information. And then we're going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to minimize this. We're going to click OK. And then real quick, to save you some trouble, here's the host ID. In the old ways that ANSYS had us working with it, we had to actually give the host ID along with it. It helps to actually organize some of these, especially if you're going to run several computers. So real quick, while I'm on this point, because here's a good place where you could actually stop and collect information. What I've done for our teams that we're working with, we've actually set up where we've got about 15 computers spread across different places. We've got a couple of laptops that are enabled with the software, so those are our backup computers in case one of the regular computers goes down. We have a classroom and several offices that our teams compete out of because we want to keep them in separate areas where they can't overhear one another because that's against the regular rules and just better for them to concentrate. So we've got a number of classrooms, but we've also got a computer lab set up where when we have the time to do training, we can have all the students in there together, so we try and enable it on lab computers. That also sets up so that our students could book time in the labs to go in there and actually do things like get STK level 1 certified or level 2 certified. So if they're looking to go for some of the internships with, say, Lockheed Martin, it's definitely a plus to be able to say that you're certified in STK. Now, what I've done is I've actually gone through, and these are fake host IDs because I'm not going to put the real information in there, and these may be modified names of computers, but this is, in the first column, I'm identifying the computer so that myself and the team director know which computer this is, so we know what Office 1, 2, and 3 are. The actual names of the computers are set up by our network admins, and so we would put those there so we could keep track of exactly what name it is. And then I pull the host ID file, and this is partly because of my old experience with it, but you can grab that right here in this file creation and copy it over there. We haven't needed that for a couple of years, but in the past, to get STK licenses, we did have to actually manually find the host ID and send it over. If nothing else, it's another way of identifying the computer. As needed, I don't have any here that we actually need to take a look at, but in the instructions, they've also got, if you have lab computers, sometimes if they don't have unique host IDs, you'll have to then go a little bit further and get their MAC address. There are instructions here on that. I'm not going to go through that because that doesn't apply to this computer or many of the computers, but if it does, follow those instructions. Okay, so last thing that I got to do on this is basically they just say, hey, create file. But here's the thing. If you have several computers, if you've only got 2 or 3, maybe it's easy to keep track of. But for us, with over a dozen of them, it helps to know what number, that's this index that I've got, and the order that I'm requesting them. So for instance, this is the development computer that I'm currently on, so I would request this one as the 15th license. So I'm going to do create file, and it's defaulting to where I normally keep this, but instead I'm going to go to my upload folder on my desktop. Now on this, they said that we wanted the license server. That's the default name that they've got. They've got it listed here. Then we want -STLX11. So I'm going to go back over to that, wherever I've got that. Yep. I'm going to scoot this over just a little bit so I can see the name Okay, it won't let me do that because I have different sized monitors. Oh, okay. Got it. Sorry. Grr. Fine. I'll do this a different way. Sorry about that. I should have planned this out a little bit better, but I'd like to get the exact format, so I'm going to do STLX11 dash, and then you would put your team number. As you're going to see in just a moment, one of our registered teams is 8. Don't use 8 unless that's your team number. So the example that they give is 0999. We don't have 999 teams to my knowledge yet. And then we would do dash. In this case, I know from my plan that I want this computer to be 15. So I'm going to do dash 15. Okay, great. Now that I've saved that, I can go over to my upload folder where I've got that. I'm going to close all those Win64X's, and it's got my license server. Now here's where, with this window open, I can simply go back over to the web page, and I can go to the spot where I want to upload it. I've taken it out of full screen mode so that I can have other things on top of it, and then you can just drag it in here. Now, this was an error I ran into a bunch of times. I tried to drag it over, and it says, file type, this isn't allowed. They prefer file types of .info. Okay, so for whatever reason, it's the correct file, but it didn't append the correct file notation. So go back to your file here, ready to upload, and right-click on it, and go to, if you're on Windows 11, you can go to Properties. If you're on Windows 10, you can just go to Rename. But on Properties, come in here, get to where you can rename it, and just put .info, and then click OK. And then it changes the type to an info file, whatever that is. And then when you actually upload this, it will accept it then. And you can actually have all 15 or however many of them, as long as you've switched them to .info, you can drag all of them in there. Then it will ask you for your name and your email. I'm going to stop there because I've actually already requested these. Okay, so then you would have the next steps of, now that you've got those, it'll take Stellar Explorers a day or two, I think up to 3 business days, to process that and send you back a license file, which I have already received here. 008-15, because this was computer 15. I'm going to pick up with that in a second video in just a moment, but your next steps would be to click the links to find STK 12.5. That's the version that we're using, to my knowledge, in at least this year and the last couple of years, Stellar Explorers program. They have newer versions, but be certain to get 12.5.0, as they say here. Okay? And then, after you've got that, it'll take a while to download and install. It's a very large program, but we'll pick up with a second video that will show you how to enable the license after we've gotten to this point. Okay? All right, see you in a minute.